Matt, thank you very much. Well, new here at 5:30. If you tuned into the big game last night, you probably also paid attention to the commercials. Joining us now to talk about the ones that, were really good and then some that kind of fell flat is public relations expert Rick Laney. Rick, good to see you again. We just saw you on Friday.
Thanks for having me.
So,
yes, sir.
Thanks for coming back for this. Let's start off with one commercial in particular here, 84 Lumber. You know, there are a few commercials like this one here that seemed a little political. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Do you think they got their message across? Do you think they did what they were supposed to and even encourage people to take a look at the company?
I think that on any other year, most of those ads that were viewed as political would have just been viewed as good ads with a message about like the Anheuser-Busch story of their founder. But because of the political climate, I think people are looking at those ads a little differently right now. The 84 Lumber ad that you mentioned, I thought was a great ad. First off, it was banned by Fox Network, and so they wouldn't air the entire spot, the second half. So people got to see the first half, and then they were directed to the website to watch the end. Well, so many people went to the website last night that for about 20 minutes their server crashed.
And so, and you can look at this. I vaguely remember the first one here, and I agree with you. I thought it was shot perfectly. You know, some good characters and so forth. But do you think it drew enough attention to the company?
Yeah,
that was a question I had. Is, hey, good story, but I went, 84 Lumber. What are they doing here?
Their intent was to make a recruiting piece. They were hiring a lot of people, building new 84 Lumber locations, and according to the company, they started that commercial before before the election, before the travel ban or extreme vetting, as they call it, before any of that took place. And so, if you look at it in terms of the door, and anyone who wants to work hard is welcome here, that's a good message to get that point across.
Well, a lot of people obviously checked out the second part of that because it crashed. Which commercials do you think stood out to you?
My overall feeling was that it was a good thing the game was solid because the commercials were overall pretty mediocre. The 84 Lumber spot that we just talked about, I think, was one of the best, and that was consistently ranked very high, if not at the top of most of the viewer polls. The Melissa McCarthy ad for Kia was also a great spot. Humorous, nothing political about that, and it conveyed a strong message about the product.
Okay, what do you think didn't really work out or live up to the expectations, do you think?
One of my least favorites was the Bud Light Spuds Ghost of Spuds McKenzie ad. I thought that they had just resurrected a campaign concept from the 80s. I know that was part of their thought process, was that they'd bring that back and people would connect with it. I was watching the Super Bowl with some younger people last night who at first didn't really realize who Spuds McKenzie was.
Yeah.
So that was a weaker spot as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. And you look at the whole Ebenezer Scrooge and kind of storyline, and then at the very end, did you happen to notice the address?
No,
on
I
the
didn't.
house. I caught this at the tail end. The address of the house, 1989.
Okay, well, that's about the time that
when
appeared.
Spuds was done. Yeah, that's when they decided to retire, that kind of thing. I had to look it up, but I went, that might mean something. What about the Audi commercial?
Audi commercial was very good. It was the equal pay daughters commercial, they called it, and I thought it was a fantastic production. I thought the story was great. The one thing, and again, I would rank that as one of the better commercials that you got to see last night. Good. The thing that was interesting was within about 15 minutes of that airing last evening, social media kind of blew up on them, and the message was, looking at Audi's board, there are no women. Looking at their senior staff and their senior executives, there are very few women. And so about 15 or 20 minutes after that commercial aired, Audi was getting some pushback and criticism from the viewers on social media because of their own practices.
Because they had it. So they got the attention. They just probably weren't ready.
It's a big asterisk to companies in the future about kind of checking their own house before they do an ad that has a strong message or a preachiness to it.
And you have an interesting little nugget here at the end of this. Talk about, so the cost of a 30-second commercial was $5 million something, right?
$5 million in some odd cents this year. And so just out of curiosity, we took a look at Facebook, what you could do with $5 million on Facebook. And what we found was if you had $5 million to allocate to boosted and advertised posts on Facebook, you could reach over 5 million people a day for over 11 months on Facebook, whereas you got 30 seconds on one network for $5 million during the Super Bowl.
That's pretty wild. Although I did forget one other commercial, the Mr. Clean.
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
Thought it was a great ad. Humorous, lighthearted, nothing political, and proof to men everywhere that a guy with a mop is always a hit with the ladies.
All right, Rick. Hey, Appreciate you. Thanks for coming
Thanks
on
for
the
having
show and such. And yeah, you can catch a lot of those commercials if you missed them. Just search them,
Yep.
and they're all over YouTube. Lori?
All right, thank you.